Welcome, and thank you for joining me on the Path of the Seeker. This is the second video in a series that started with the illusion of separation. Today, I want to share with you a little story. So settle in with your favorite beverage, whether it's coffee, soda, tea, or a glass of wine. You'll find no judgment here. You don't need to believe this story, but for now, suspend your disbelief and just contemplate this as though it is a possibility. Originally, all souls, including angels, were essentially the same. They were emanated from the essence of the Creator. We intuitively performed specific tasks to fulfill the desires of the Creator. There was no desire for these souls to do anything other than what the Creator desired. All souls were, essentially, identical. This is similar to how ants and bees work, a sort of hive mind with the workers compelled to go about their tasks with no free will. A very special soul group discovered the physical material realm to which Earth belongs, called Malkuth, or the Kingdom. They started to experiment with this new state of being. The Creator had perceived that this group of souls would come to exist, and that they would need this place to explore. At first, the souls could pop in and out of the physical realm at will. They started by experiencing the various forms of gas, and then started experimenting with the mineral kingdom, the plant kingdom, and the animal kingdom. As they experimented with physical material reality, they promoted evolution in all of its forms. Eventually, these souls developed a semi-physical human body, along with two civilizations of Atlantis and the Lemuria. The remains of these beings will never be found because they were not entirely physical. Atlantis was a patriarchal society that worked with the divine masculine principle, the active intelligence of creation. So they studied how to create things and experimented with creation, including time. Lemuria was a matriarchal society that was created to work with the divine feminine, the passive intelligence. And they actually studied the natural order and how the natural order worked in a progression of steps, similar to the steps of alchemy or the Sephiroth on the Tree of Life. Then something shocking happened. One of the people in Atlantis became individuated and separated from the hive mind. This being was aware that it had its own intentions and that it could act selfishly. The ego was born. Quickly, the illusion of separation and the ego spread through the society like a virus. War broke out between Atlantis and Lemuria. Mistakes were made. There was no going back to the way things had been. Even the angels were shocked by this development that seemed to be against the natural order of the creation and the Creator itself. The fear of separation was so great, Lemuria and Atlantis manifested a comet that destroyed what remained of their societies after their long war. The survivors went to various parts of the world and tried to preserve their knowledge. Many of the mystery traditions come from these groups that spread out around the globe. That is why, despite distance and culture, all creation stories hold the same kernel of truth, told from different perspectives. Consciousness was split into two by the veil known as the ego. The apparatus of the ego was needed to create separation between the souls and the Creator, to create a space so they could have privacy to help them individuate. All of this was according to the divine plan of the latent passive aspect of creation, but it was new to the divine masculine, or the active part of creation. So even the angels were surprised by these developments. Previously, all souls shared all their information instantly in a psychic exchange as soon as they met. It was a sort of psychic signature. There was also a continuous feed to and from the Creator. This download was instantaneous, but the need for privacy, as a result of becoming self-aware, required the connection to others and the Creator to be severed from the conscious mind. This is how and why the subconscious mind and the shadow were created. The subconscious mind remained the receiver of the Creator's will, but the individual could choose to ignore or dismiss it. It was then determined that human beings were to go through the process of samsara, cycles of reincarnation, for a set amount of time, where they would forget their divine origin and the eternal nature of the soul. The survivors of Atlantis and Lemuria knew human souls would descend fully into matter to the point where they would be fully encased in human bodies, and come to think that consciousness arose from their physical bodies. The souls would experience continual reincarnation until they reached the point where they amassed enough experience that they could remain an individual, but reconnect with their soul group and creator on a conscious level. Once their sense of self was complete, they could begin to reintegrate the subconscious and connect with oneness without losing their individual identity. The reason all of this was put into place is because individual identity is extraordinarily rare. Unique souls are priceless to the Creator because they can become companions to the Creator, and not just little workers compelled to do the Creator's bidding, without choice. The individuated souls would undergo a similar experience to the aspect of the Creator that became aware of itself and said, "I am," but on a much smaller scale in a very safe place that had been created prior to the first individual soul in Atlantis became aware of its singular identity. The survivors of Atlantis knew that at a certain point in human evolution, and many of the ancient texts point to the age of Aquarius, humans would be capable of and choose to reconnect with oneness consciously. There is evidence they left pieces of a universal symbolic system explaining the story of the soul and the pattern of creation in the four corners of the world that would only be understood at that time. At that point, souls, according to many sources, will start to remember their celestial origin and turn back towards the Creator. A small number of people would preserve the teachings and practices of oneness, but at some point there would be a mass awakening when a maximum threshold is met and the ascension out of the flesh, which will take hundreds, if not thousands of years, would begin. Part of the process of the return is shadow work. Over many lifetimes, souls fed the shadow with all the parts of themselves that they had rejected. All souls start off as a pure state of potential. Souls had the ability to do and become absolutely everything, and so in the process of reincarnation, they started to eliminate the possibilities of what they would actually choose to become and choose to do. The result of those unique choices and experiences is a unique soul. All right, we have come to the point where I left off in the last video, the illusion of separation. I can now explain why Malkuth, the kingdom, was cut off from the Tree of Life without access to the top 3 spheres on the Tree of Life. We have the power to destroy things. Destruction is a part of the process of gaining knowledge. Atlantis and Lemuria completely destroyed themselves, and it was determined that humans couldn't access the entire Tree of Life in case we decided to destroy it. The desire for death was an entirely foreign concept before the destruction of Atlantis and Lemuria. In order to regain access to the entire Tree of Life, we have to choose life over destruction and power. We have to submit to the divine natural order and work with it instead of trying to control or improve it. Only then will we regain access to the Tree of Life and the Creator. That's why, at best, we are at the start of a long ascension process, and it's not going to be instantaneous. We have to cough up the poisonous apple of the experience of death like Snow White and embrace the concept of eternal life. Well, we've reached the end of this video. In the next video of this series, I'll go deeper into the integration of the shadow. Thank you, brave soul, for exploring this avenue of the Seeker with me.